This week, we left Santa Fe and continued south. On the drive through central New Mexico, we saw the most beautiful sunset over the mountains. We found a place online that looked similar to our last campsite, and although it was getting dark, we decided to go for it. We drove down a long, bumpy road and could barely see where any sights were, but eventually we found a great spot. We were so glad to just wake up to a normal Monday morning for the first time in weeks and just get some work done. Then the three of us set out for an afternoon on the lake. Google Maps told us it was 20 minutes away, and an hour and a half later, we managed to find it. It was windy, so we ate our sandwiches in the car, then did a quick workout on the dock and went home. We stopped for groceries in the small town of Truth or Consequences, named after a 1950s radio show. The town used to be called Hot Springs, and it does indeed have some hot springs in it. Did they make the right decision renaming their town? I'll let you decide, but the answer is no. We've been seeing all these cattle guards and wondering, where's all the free roaming cows? I see them. After a few restful days, it was time to head out again, this time to a larger city called Las Cruces, or the Crosses. Las Cruces is something like the 15th most popular town to retire to in the US. We chose a campsite rated 5 stars, but didn't read the most recent reviews, which said the road was all washed out. It was getting dark as we arrived. We have to stop doing that. And the road was definitely impossible. We scouted out the next nearest area in the Subaru, and it was accessible, but packed. We managed to squeeze in behind someone else and hoped we weren't breaking some RV rule of etiquette. By the next day, almost everyone had cleared out and it remained pretty sparse the next few days. Each campsite has been more beautiful than the last. We've been choosing places based solely on how far we wanted to drive, with no expectations for the sights. It just goes to show that there is beauty everywhere. There was a trailhead just down the road, so we went exploring. I kept my eye out for snakes, and we both enjoyed discovering the local vegetation. Check out these death traps called ocotillo, fishhook barrel cactus, Mojave yucca or Spanish bayonet, common sodal, and our old friend prickly pear, which Toby and I both have gotten a little too close to back home in Colorado. We got up with the sun on New Year's Eve. Later, we got lunch and ate in a sunny spot at a park. We ran some errands, and in so doing, got a small tour of Las Cruces. We drove past Las Cruces Plaza. Are these the Cruces? Are these the Cruces? Overall, downtown was underwhelming. If we had had more time, maybe we'd find where the real action happens, because that wasn't it. We came home and Toby made a fire. At exactly 9 p.m., our neighbors set off some fireworks and we had a front row seat from the comfort of our RV. Then we had some chamomile tea and went to bed at 9:30. Happy New Year. The next day, we went for a 5.5-mile hike to see Dripping Springs. We took a detour to see a cave along the way and ended up on kind of a treacherous trail, but our days in Colorado prepped us for it just fine. This area is just so scenic, and we were sad to say goodbye. But after a week and a half of traveling south, it was time to head west to Tucson, Arizona. Although we were still at least a half hour from the Mexican border and not driving toward it, there was still a border check. We think all it did was scan our plates because they waved each vehicle through after a brief pause. The boondocking site we chose said the road was rough, but the views were worth it, so we gave it a shot. Well, this was the first time so far that winging it didn't work out for us. Not only was the road bumpy, but it was uphill, and the reviews did not mention that it was bumpy and uphill. We did make it up there, but then the sights weren't level, so we couldn't stay. And despite driving slowly, things flew off our counters and onto the floor. Furniture that we have strapped to the wall tipped over. Luckily, nothing broke, I don't think. But I do think we lost about 3 months off Toby's life. However, as the reviews said, the views were picturesque. And despite the rough drive, it was so cool. It was like a cactus forest, and the cacti were the biggest we had seen. We unhitched, turned around, rehitched, and made a beeline to the nearest Walmart.
Chalk that one to a mistake.
Aww.
Learning lessons all the way.
Well, that's the third time now we've said we need to not come at night.
Sure is. Third time's the charm, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I think so.
This one really
This is the one.
knocked it home.
Yeah. Well, you did great for what it's worth.
Considering, yeah, I think I only yelled once.
What a relief. Until we arrived and saw no overnight parking signs. City ordinance. At this point, we were really running out of ideas. I started calling nearby RV parks. The first one was closed. The second one stopped taking people an hour ago. Just thinking out loud while on the phone with the guy, I said, "And we're not allowed to stay at like a Walmart in this town, is that right?" Well, to our absolute delight, he said, "Oh no, you can. You just need to walk in and get their permission first." Hallelujah, and the angels sang. I walked in there, got permission, we parked, leveled, and that was that. What a dramatic evening. Ah well, we needed eggs anyway. Stay tuned next week to see where the hopefully less bumpy road takes us. Okay, what did you just say?
How did the butter end up in the bedroom?
Where is it?
From the kitchen.
Is it on the floor?
It's right here.
Oh my gosh.